'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling RHAPup's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party. Moolah Ric Flair, showing out like Bianca Belair, Best podcast, fluctuate in the air, From the rings and we win it, don't care, No cap. Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling RHAPup's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wrestling RHAPup podcast. I'm your host, Mari Forth, and with me, as always, my co-host, my tag team partner, the Brian Danielson, to my John Moxley, Mr. Matt Scott. Matt, how's it going?
Wow, Mari, it's going so well. I'm ready to get this potty started. Just dive right in. I did say it. I said it, and I meant it. Cool. And I'm happy to be here with you, and happy to be the best in the world, according to you. That's a huge compliment. Subtle.
Yeah. Friends who
inside.
Fight, right?
Yes, yeah. Friends who fight. Aw. Wait, is this like the thing? This reminds me of the low-key, the one time we were not on the podcast together for a week when there was speculation that we completely broke up and left apart. There's no fighting happening, and we're here having a good time and talking about All Elite Wrestling, right?
Yes, All Elite Wrestling RHAPup this week. So if you've been waiting for us to talk about AEW, too long for a title, you think? Too long? Anyways,
it's just redundant.
We'll see.
I like it. I'm writing that down.
But yeah, if that's what you wanted, you've come to the right place. It's all AEW this week. We're taking a pause from WWE. We'll see you back next week, I'm sure. Nothing exciting really happened over there. It's just more of the same. They're gearing up to Extreme Rules, so we'll check back then for that.
And there'll be a lot to catch up. We could always we'll go back. We'll tell you about anything exciting from this week, so we're not just going to completely skip over it.
Exactly.
That'll make next week's episode extra fun, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we have some great guests with us today.
Oh,
Matt, will you do us the honors? And
I can
guests
do us
on
the
here.
honors. Look at that. And you know what? Let me first welcome in a guest. You know, like we heard our theme song, an 8-Ball special by the one and only 8-Ball Bangers Isaiah of Survivor Philadelphia Head vs. Heart fame. I figure I need to bring in another teammate, another alliance member, tag team partner, one and only. Please welcome, making his way back to the podcast. You'll find him all over the place. He's all. I don't know where to find him anymore because he's around Philadelphia, but you'll find him sometimes on channel 257 on YouTube. You'll find him having fun and games, twitching, Instagramming, Twittering, all of the above. He's not Mari. He's not sorry. He loves Mario Party. Please welcome Ari Ferarri.
Thank y'all for having me to this party. Look, we got the Mari Ari connection. We're tag team champions. Y'all two are tag team champions. There's champions everywhere, and now we've got the trios championship coming up here. So, don't we have another champion coming up?
This is the trios division. But you know what? We're gonna work our way into the quad. When it's called a 4 is like a quadruple championship.
We're the quad champs.
Yeah, the quad champs.
I feel like you made that up. I don't think
Four corners fatal 4-way champion, obviously.
I like the quad champs. It's like a nice thick quad. Speaking of, please welcome, making his way to the podcast, hailing from Hell's Kitchen, New York, by way of Connecticut, by way of Washington, D.C., and so many places in between, former stand-up comedian, for a short but successful run in 2015, a map lover, a consultant, information, marathon runner, all of the above. Please welcome Ryan Collins.
Thank you. Happy to be back at this potty. I hate saying it. That's terrible.
Okay, that was good. That was way better.
I'm glad to be back. On the Wrestling RHAPup with Matt and Mari. Last time I was on, Mari, you were on vacation. It was just Matt. It was chaos. It was lawless. He was barely keeping it together. So I'm glad to be back in the real deal.
No, I'm walking. I'm done. I'm walking.
Okay. So come on back.
We need a run-in.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought the beef was going to be between Matt and Ari after Survivor, but I'm glad I'm the first one to make him walk out.
Matt versus the world. I'll take on all of you.
True handicap match here. This turned into a handicap match real quick.
Yeah. I'm thinking more like a gauntlet, maybe one-on-one.
Of course you would prefer the gauntlet. Thank you guys for being here. Like Ryan said, I'm so glad I can actually podcast with you. I'm glad we have Ari back to actually talk about some AEW. Let's catch up a little bit since you guys been here. You guys did the preview for Double or Nothing for us back in May. How are you feeling AEW since then? Let me start with Ari. How's it going, Ari?
Well, I enjoy AEW. It's a family show, obviously. I tend to watch AEW with my brother. It's a nice way to hang out and bond. But since Double or Nothing, it hasn't gotten better.
Okay. Long story short. Why?
Well, all right. You know what? I guess we could continue on as we go on in the podcast. But it just feels like there's too many champions. It feels like every week we're just shuffling the board. There haven't really been, in my opinion, very long threaded storylines. It's just been. It feels like we're playing WWE like the GM mode, and we're just hitting shuffle every time.
Interesting. Ryan, rebuttal to the retittle to the retitle.
Rebuttal, or maybe you agree.
I'll give you my retittle to the retitle.
There you go.
It's been an emotional roller coaster at AEW recently, as I'm sure you all know. I really enjoyed All Out as a pay-per-view. The next morning, the company promptly exploded. Thought they put together a great show that Wednesday. I got back invested. I was really excited to go to Grand Slam. TBD on how I feel about AEW right now. There's a lot in the air right now. The top stars are potentially all suing each other. We don't really know. There's a lot to be settled, but I will say this is the second Grand Slam I went to. I don't think there's quite the level of excitement, not quite the level of sort of intimacy of this new thing coming up that we're all supporting. It's an interesting spot, especially with WWE really hitting their stride under Triple H. So there's a lot in the air. I don't want to give my verdict yet. AEW.
It's interesting.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
No, Mari, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, we've been kind of keeping up on at least the drama. I mean, no matter what, the drama has been everywhere. If you haven't go ahead and see what we did. We dropped a little segment video on CM Punk and the fallout from the media scrum presser. But yeah, it did feel like, no more Punk. Punk right now is injured. Rumors he might be gone? Question mark.
Oof.
I don't know. It's like rumors. All the EVPs are suspended right now, stripped of the title. They're not here. Like it does feel like a major shakeup. I have said previously, I do like when they do the interim championships, though. Like I do like that because it feels like you have built-in storylines when the champions come back. Right now, the women's champion Thunder Rosa's like hurt right now, so it does feel kind of weird. It feels like a changing of the guard with WWE and Triple H doing their thing over there. Apparently, they're reaching out. They're reaching out to some of the AEW talent about possibly coming back. Allegedly, they got checked for like contract breach of contract and stuff like that. So, I just think it's like an upheaval time almost. But honestly, watching Grand Slam, I watched it. All three of our guests here were there live and in color. So I'll be asking them what they thought about it. Like live versus what I saw. And then like even the Rampage following that was recorded there, it like just looking at the card, it seemed very stacked. And I was invested in like some of the matches and stuff like that. But I mean, from what it looked like, it was a great start, like a great card. So
it was pretty lit. The energy. I'll give a lot of credit. I've been to a couple of AEW shows live, and I would say this was easily the best, most energetic crowd I've been to. So Ryan, I'd be interested in hearing, like, last year's Grand Slam, was it even more lit than that?
I think so. I do think the card was better this year, and I think it had to be. Tony Khan has to make a statement right now of, hey, we're missing our top stars, but we still got a lot to offer you. We've got a deep bench. We can still entertain you. So I think from top to bottom, the card was better this year. But I just remember last year we got Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson, and it was the first time they had ever matched up. The crowd gave them probably a 3 to 4 minute standing ovation before they even started, before the bell rang. And it was less to do with the quality of the wrestling, the quality of the wrestlers on display, and more of just an excitement as a group of, look at this small company that we've been supporting since day one has filled up this giant stadium. There's 20,000 of us here chanting together. It was really the biggest first event they had post the pandemic era. And that's cooled down. AEW is no longer the cool young upstart on the block. They're established. They're going through some growing pains. You know, there's just an aspect of, we've done this before. We're back in the stadium again. I still think the energy was very strong. Obviously, everyone was very hot and invested, but it's hard to beat your first time, you know?
Yeah, and you know, well, oh, okay. Well, but you know what? Also, I think it's like, it's interesting, and that's a great point too, from a lot of angles. Like, you know, you mentioned the growing pains, and so AEW is definitely experiencing some of those growing pains. Some of those pains are from dog bites and chair shots, but you never, you know, that's kind of how it is. And you know, I think the other thing about AEW that's interesting that you just made me think of, Ryan, is like last year, Kenny Omega was there. Like, I'm sure the Young Bucks were also on that show. Like, some of these AEW stars, as opposed to ex-WWE stars, were featured and at the top of the card. Like, I am a big Kenny Omega fan. I have never seen him live, and I felt his absence there. And, you know, even being able to see CM Punk, like, for just because it's CM Punk, however you feel about him, like, that would have been nice too. Seeing the Young Bucks would have been nice. So this show kind of felt like a little bit, it was a lot of fun. The energy was amazing, but it did feel like a little bit more WWE ish than, I won't say WWE light, but WWE ish than maybe I would have liked or expected. And then the other thing, like, in terms of AEW, from my perspective, is like, your EVPs are suspended, so there's that. But so that's a problem. You need to figure out that dynamic and situation. But it's the little things, like Tony Khan coming out onto the ramp and welcoming people, and like, from the live experience, he's standing kind of in the tunnel, so you can't really see him from all angles. And I'm like, just like stand in the middle of the stage, like, from a production perspective. Like, it's just the little things that make the big difference from my perspective. And I don't know, I would just like to see more of that polish on AEW, but I think they might be getting there. I know they're getting there sooner or later, but you know, hopefully they have enough time to get there, and WWE doesn't kind of catch up, or they don't run themselves out of business with some of the drama behind the scenes.
Man, that's such a brilliant point about, it's very WWE-esque. It never even occurred to me to like look at what were the matches at Grand Slam, and we can look at the card and some very, look, if you're not an AEW fan and you're still listening and you're a WWE fan, you're gonna recognize these names. You've been watching these folks for years now. Moxley, Daniel Bryan, Jericho, Claudio,
every match.
It's pretty stacked until we get to probably the most heat or the most energy there was in the crowd was probably for that tag team championship. So credit to that.
But every match had an ex-WWE star in it.
Which, like, to be fair, I mean, they're allowed to work places too, but it is, you know, it would be nice. One, I do think it's interesting that they have so many injuries, and I'm not sure why there's been that rash of injuries, especially in AEW, since probably like May or June, when I think a number of them started happening and coming up. But yeah, it is interesting. Like, if you're looking at it through that lens, it is kind of awkward. I mean, but Mox and Danielson and Claudio and Chris Jericho, like, and Swerve in Our Glory, like, they're completely different than what they were in WWE. So it doesn't feel like it's just recycling, but yeah, they were all there. So what happened to all the people who were never in WWE? They kind of just got pushed to the side.
They were on
I know
Rampage.
that's one exact, and on Dark. And I know that's one of the big complaints and one of the big issues, you know?
Yeah, I actually was like, I watched all the Grand Slam, and I wrote you guys. I was like, oh, we might put some Rampage stuff in there. And I looked at the Rampage card. I was like, oh my god, like that's actually pretty good. But I have to go to sleep, and it Rampage comes out way too late for me.
Yeah.
But like I did find some of those, like getting Sammy Guevara versus Eddie Kingston, finally ending that half real blood feud. You know, I was kind of glad Eddie Kingston kind of like choked him out for a minute, because that dude deserves it. He has such a punchable face, Sammy Guevara. And you know, and then like Jade and Diamante, all that stuff. Like I had my best friends who know that I've watched wrestling for years that do not care, literally texted me. And they're like, is Trina wrestling right now?
Oh, like, Trina, yes. Miami Zone. The OG.
Did
they say the OG Baddie? Yes, the OG Baddie.
Yes.
So
they're like, I just heard Trina's like wrestling. I was like, no, she's not wrestling, but she will be ringside.
Oh, I would want that. I would want to see her wrestle, like doing the shooting star press.
They
or
said
something
keep me
like
posted.
That's still pretty good though, right? Like you have a casual audience reaching out and being interested. It also point to I think this is another Rampage match we don't have to get into, but Action Bronson joining Hook. And I think it's actually a very interesting approach, right? I mean, WWE has Logan Paul, and AEW is trying to do its own thing also with a circle of celebrities or people that are outside of the industry. So I know not everyone is into that, but I still think it's good to have that association. Maybe you'll get an eyeball or two.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting that you mentioned Logan Paul, because WWE, just because of like what they've done, like Vince McMahon always like reveled in just being I don't know if it's like counterculture or edgy or controversial, but like they bring in Logan Paul, who's like problematic. I don't know if he's a problematic fave, but definitely some people's problematic faves. In AEW, it's at least nice that we don't get just like, you know, horrible people who show up and it's like, okay, we're going to accept them as good wrestlers. Now, Bad Bunny in AEW would be nice, but
Good Bunny.
They got him. They got to him.
Bunny.
Yeah.
I've said it before, like I really like when they try and reach a different audience. It's one thing that I think WWE has always had over AEW, but AEW did a good job. Like I said, having Trina participate in the Jade match, eventually like turning on Diamante to kind of like join with Jade. I dyed my hair in honor of Jade. If we're talking about AEW, of course I'm talking about Jade Cargill. But also like partnering with Rolling Loud, like Swerve is going to be at Rolling Loud with West Side Gun, stuff like that. Like that is, we talked about when WWE partnered with Rolling Loud last year. It's like, even if it doesn't work, you're showing effort. You know what I'm saying? Like you're showing effort to try and get out there. And I think DJ Woo Kid was there at Grand Slam too. Like that's amazing. That for me, that feels like they're taking notes. They're trying to bring in a more casual audience. They're trying to reach out to more demographics, like the Black audience and stuff like that. So I'm here for that. I'd much rather feel like you're making an effort than saying we don't care about this demographic. We only care about this demographic, you know?
And I think they're being smart about it as well. You know, it's not like the bad old days when Dr. Phil was on Raw and Snooki had a WrestleMania match. You know?
Right.
They're getting folks who make sense. Like I don't think Action Bronson has ever released a song that doesn't have at least one wrestling reference in it. Bad Bunny obviously was a lifelong fan who is willing to put in the work to put on a good show at WrestleMania. I think both companies have gotten better at, you know, reaching these outside audiences, but making sure they're getting actual fans and it's not going to impact the product otherwise. Although I don't know, some people might have enjoyed the Snooki match.
I did. She did a nice back handspring, and that was like the highlight. People were like, "Whoa, Snooki could flip over? What?" So that was really nice, and I still think about that fondly. I will also say we've talked about the slogan AEW is for everyone, and I didn't like
what slogan is that?
It's a slogan. It's a thing, right? It's a thing.
Maybe
it sounds familiar.
I've heard you say it.
No, it's a thing. AEW is for everyone is like a whole thing that they've been saying. It's like a campaign that they've had. Yeah, AEW is for everyone.
I have never heard that campaign in my entire life.
Wait, did I just make this up? No, this is this is thing. No, AEW. Okay, maybe this was earlier on in their days. I just Googled it, so I'm like, oh my god, Matt. Okay, this is thing. So AEW was even sold shirts that said AEW is for everyone. Like that's how they started the company. That was Cody Rhodes' thing, and like they've kind of mentioned it or referenced it at different points. I was worried. I was kind of worried for a second. Like, whoa, what's going on, Matt? Your brain. But I just feel like if you're going to say that you're for everyone, and this has been referenced by other wrestling fans as we talk about like the lack of diversity, it is like the fact that maybe it's not a horrible thing if they say that. I don't know if they're still pushing that message as hard as possible, but maybe that holds them to a standard that they need to live to, like giving opportunities to queer performers and people of color who are on their roster and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I want AEW to be for everyone, but we've talked about the lack of diversity, which I hope is changing.
You got to start somewhere. You always got to start somewhere. So I'm gonna commend them for what they're doing now. Yeah, it's good. I'm cool. All right. So I'm glad we got into it a little bit. Let's pause for our plugs, and then we'll get into the recap review of Grand Slam. So if you're listening to this and you want to send any long form questions, you can send them to wrestling@RHAPhasawebsite.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling RHAPUp. On Twitter, use hashtag Wrestling RHAPup to join the conversation. And of course, if you haven't already done it, you can join the official Facebook group. Job has a Squadcast. Reach out to us and we'll get you in there. What else? Oh, rate, review, and subscribe.
Ooh.
Hopefully you've already subscribed. If you haven't, do it right now. Go to RHAPhasawebsite.com/wrestling feed to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, let's see. Our pretty faces here on YouTube. Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast, stop, because I think that already counts as a listen. Now go watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, just keep refreshing the YouTube video about 100 times. We'll see how that goes.
Go to Rob Has a Podcast on YouTube, search Wrestling RHAPup to find all of your Wrestling RHAPup video podcasts. It's great. You can see our faces, you can see all of the pictures that we bring up here, just in case you might not watch wrestling, you just like listening to us. We appreciate that. So you can always go and watch us on YouTube. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back to talk about the highlights of the week. Okay, so let's get into Grand Slam. All right, so we will just be completely reviewing the Grand Slam. I always want to say pay-per-view. I know that like even that is obsolete, and it definitely doesn't apply here. Like,
oh yeah, and it's just like their normal like it's on TV.
Not even a premium live event.
Not even premium.
Like
premium in our hearts.
Like a super card or something like that.
Super card.
Just an episode of Dynamite in the ratings.
Yeah.
That's real.
True. All right. So let's start with we kind of like to go from the order of what we actually want to talk about to
you said it.
Well, you know what I mean. So we had the Grand Slam Tournament of Champions finale for the AEW World Championship, where it was Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World title. Ryan, can you tell us how we got to Moxley versus Danielson for the title?
Yeah, so there's not too much behind this kayfabe wise in terms of story. Gotcha. But behind the scenes there's a lot going on. So
yes,
like I mentioned before, in the aftermath of All Out, They had to strip CM Punk of his championship. They had to suspend the Elite, all of their VPs. And that Wednesday on Dynamite, I think Tony Khan really felt the need to, one, address what they're going to do with this championship, and two, show that even though we lost a lot of our top stars, we still got a lot of firepower. We've got a deep roster of champions and great wrestlers here. So we put together this single elimination tournament to crown the new AEW champion. And the gimmick behind it was only previous champions were allowed to compete. So you got Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, Hangman Adam Page, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, an incredible killer lineup of wrestlers all going at each other for this final spot. And I guess if you had to put a storyline behind it, it's that the people who happen to make the finals here are Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, who are teammates together in the Blackpool Combat Club. So this is a real face versus face situation. Both of these guys are beloved by the fan base. Both of them are in a stable together, have no beef with each other. And they sold it as such. They didn't try to manufacture any drama. They just said, we're friends, we're competitors, we're excited to go after each other, and we'll see what happens. And that's how they sold it. They just wanted to put on a real good technical wrestling match, and that's what they did. I don't think they needed to put any storyline drama behind this. It just was a statement of, these are two of the best wrestlers in the world. They respect each other. They're going to kick each other's asses to get this championship. Let's see what happens. And that's what they delivered, I think.
Yeah. And on the broadcast, they had William Regal at ringside on the announce table, really putting that over. And it was so great. I love listening to William Regal on announce. And I really thought that was the way to do it. Like, definitely to say, like, we're all going to fight and then we're going to come together. Like, I love that aspect of it. I know you guys were there. So, Ari, did you go back and watch to hear the commentary, or what was the feeling like not hearing the commentary and just watching the match?
I did not go back and watch the commentary, but I feel like ultimately that main event, it just boils down to, there's been a lot of instability the past couple of weeks. So I feel like you can count on Daniel Bryan, Jon Moxley to be that stability. And regardless of who wins, it's just going to be like, all right, this is going to, I think you may have referenced it before, like this is going to be like a changing of the guard, so to speak, after the CM Punk stuff. So ultimately, like being there at a wrestling show, you're cheering, you're yelling. I was paying attention. I was watching the moves. And I thought the whole way, the way it was set up, I was looking at like, oh, obviously Daniel Bryan's going to win, or Bryan Danielson. My apologies. Bryan Danielson is going to win this. I thought he was like the ultimate definition of stability. Yeah. So I was a little surprised towards the end. So that's good, right? Like they swerved me in terms of how the match was going to go and who was going to win. So I was just enjoying it. And also, I was also very distracted by MJF. He showed up and he was there the whole match, and he was being silly and just paying attention to the match. And from where I was sitting, he was I don't know, I would say maybe like 50 feet above me. So he was looking down on all the peons, looking down at all the serfs, and I was looking up to him as he watched the match. And it was really good to just switch back and forth between what MJF was doing and what was actually happening in the ring.
I will say,
I think we're on the same page. But first of all, Ari, I just want to acknowledge you are not a peon, even though MJF was looking down on you. And yeah, it was just, I think, Mari, it was kind of distracting.
Yeah, so for the viewers at home, for like me, I'm like in trying to get into this wrestling match because they was wrestling down. They were really doing it, and then they just kept cutting back to MJF making goofy faces, and I'm just like, okay, I get it, he's there, but let's try and like really put the focus on Moxley and Danielson. Matt, did you go back and watch at least a little bit just to see how it came off on TV?
No, I did, but I think the other thing too is like, Ari's there. He's he's short selling. He was basically front row. Me, Brian, we're up and we're kind of higher up. So like there's kind of an inclination to look at the screen instead of at the ring, just because you get more of the emotions, the expressions, and everything else. And you kept seeing MJF's face pop up on the screen, and it was distracting even as the match was going on, because it's like I get it, like I get what they're trying to do with the story, but and I'll also give MJF credit. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, like his his face card doesn't decline. Like he's good. He's got it, you know, right? But I lie, I exaggerate. I just would reference Beyonce. But you know, the thing is, like we were trying to watch wrestling, so why are you cutting every 10 to 15 seconds to MJF's reactions? Like, we get it, and we get that he has a funny face. Like, we get that he's able to like make expressions and drop his like whatever. It's fine, but we want wrestling.
It's occurring to me that I'm speaking from a place of privilege. I'm over here sitting really close. I have the power. I'm the director of the movie. If I want to look at MJF, I just turn my head. I'm not relying on someone in the truck to switch it over to MJF. So, you know what? That's a very good point. I did not watch the television show, and I can see how that can be very distracting because it was a very good match.
Yeah. Ryan, can you explain for the listeners who maybe not know, why was MJF there? Why was he holding that chip? What was that all about?
Yes. So MJF walked out on the company a couple months back. Maybe in
y'all were here. Yeah, we originally talked about that, right?
He made his triumphant return at All Out. He entered the Casino Battle Royale, which is essentially AEW's Money in the Bank, I suppose. He got in the poker chip, which is their briefcase, slightly worse of a prop, if you ask me. And basically, the reveal was that he agreed to come back to AEW if Tony Khan would pay him a lot more money, if he dropped his request for MJF to sign an extension, and he got to win this Casino Battle Royale. So got a lot of his demands met there. We don't know how many of those are really actually fulfilled and how much are just storyline, but he came back, won the chip with the help of his new goons and henchmen, the Firm, who basically handed the chip over to him. And now he has the right to he's got the right to compete for the AEW championship whenever he wants. So he was sitting there watching the result, very happy when either of them took a very painful looking bump, because it means they'll be softened up for him to take that championship whenever he wants to waltz in and cash it, which hopefully this Wednesday.
So it's literally like the Money in the Bank. Like he can just like anytime.
It's unclear to me. They haven't really explained the rules. We've never seen a cash in like Money in the Bank style where someone runs in when someone's injured, pins him real quick and takes the championship. It seems that it's more of a, you can request a match whenever you want. But again, it's a gray area, and it's MJF. He's going to do whatever he wants to do at the end of the day.
Very, very true. Yeah. I'm trying to, because that was my thought, because I've seen people win the Casino Battle Royals and stuff like that, but I never thought of it like a Money in the Bank until they kept showing him like that. I was like, is this truly like a Money in the Bank? I did not realize like that was the case. I as one thought it was, you know, you get an announced match. So I guess we'll see. We had the, you know, the Firm. So when he won, wasn't he masked? Like, didn't they have to like unmask him, even though everybody knew it was him because he was like walking like MJF or something?
He came in fully masked. He grabbed the chip. He walked out. But then by the end of the event, he unmasked himself. By that point, everyone already knew. It was still a nice reveal anyway. They had a nice little voicemail recording, like a crappy rap song of Tony Khan begging him to come back. He took his mask off. He put his scarf on. It was a nice moment.
Yeah, and that extension news is very interesting because how many years does he have left? Like 2 or 3 or something like that, right? Like
I think it's 2, and then he's very open about the fact that he'll go to the highest bidder when that contract is up.
Yeah, it's interesting though. It's really interesting to think about MJF because, like, I mean, if you said that to me 8 months ago, like MJF, he could be in WWE, go to the highest bidder. Like, I can imagine there might be interest, but not exactly the most professional situation with him earlier this year, whether it's a work or a shoot. So I don't know how that translates, but I would almost think that makes him less attractive. But what do I know? And speaking of unprofessionalism, I guess what sucks about MJF's return is that the whole CM Punk debacle overshadowed it like immediately in the news, and so not great, but he's back, and I don't know, I mean, and he's fine. We haven't seen that much from him yet, I guess.
He cut a promo on Wheeler, Utah, like early in the night. Ari, it sounded like the top of the building came off the place. How was it there?
I don't know, it's probably pretty easy to crap on Wheeler Yuta, right? Like I just don't understand like why I'm supposed to like him, I guess. So it was easy to root for him, to shit on him, I guess.
he's a wrestler.
I mean, like the whole, but I also find it interesting. Like if you're like the whole dig is that nobody knows who you are, and I don't know. It's just a bit. Shouldn't you be hyping up your opponents?
Right.
To say that you're bigger badass than you are.
He took shots at the BCC too, like hard ones, like calling everybody addicted to pain pills and booze.
He came for your boy Willie Regal, of all people.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Rude.
And you know what? Leave William Regal alone is kind of my thing, because back in NXT he was known for stoking up the flames. He was known for his war games, but he was really all about those peace games here. Like he should win the Nobel Peace Prize for he has prevented the Blackpool Combat Club, the BCC, from falling apart, and we really love that for him.
Yeah.
But don't bring up the pills. That was in the past.
Dang it! And you just
also in England they have free healthcare. It's easier to get.
Well, unfortunately Matt just brought up the one news thing that I forgot that we should have talked about. Sorry, I got to step out of the AEW for a second, y'all.
Please,
they did announce that War Games is coming back to Survivor Series this year in WWE. There will be 2 War Games matches, both a men and a women's match, and they said it will not be brand supremacy based. So, hallelujah, thank God. Triple H been making some good decisions. He's been making some bad decisions. Braun Strowman, but at least we are getting our War Games on the main roster. Okay, sorry.
We're not gonna respond to what Mari just said, just so we don't have to talk about any of that now. But yes, War Games is coming back. That's exciting. And I don't know. I think that my thing is MJF really in his promos, he just kind of goes for the jugular, and you come to expect that. And I mean, that's his thing, right?
I think he's got to right now. People are so hot for MJF right now. Like you mentioned, the crowd went nuts when he emerged to pull that promo on Wheeler Yuta, and it's going to be very tough for him to get booed again. He's just such a hot commodity. The fans love him. I think that's why he's going for the jugular, because he's just desperate to do anything. He called William Regal a pill addict. Didn't matter. We all cheered that. He called Tony Schiavone old fat prick. We cheered that. He couldn't hit him. Boo. Yeah. Well, he finally shoved him, and I finally heard some boos. So he's really just trying to do anything he can to get in the crowd's bad graces again. But it's going to be a tough sell to get people to boo him again.
I don't like this. It's going to get dark. He's just going to he's gonna start saying some really horrible things and getting cheered.
And this
it's just kind of triggering for me. It reminds me of people politics. I don't remember his name, but there was a president. Anyway, it's just going in a direction that I don't know if we need to go there. Yeah, I don't love it. It's a slippery slope.
Overall, pretty good match. Poor Moxley is not getting his time off anytime soon. That he is tired from carrying this company,
which is wild, because a year ago, wasn't exactly a year ago that the man he checked into this is not storyline, but he checked into rehab just for drinking and alcohol. And part of it, I listened to, I think it was an interview that he did with his wife, Renee Young, on her podcast, and it's up on YouTube too. But he was just in so much pain, and a lot of wrestlers turn to drinking to deal with that naturally, right? And so, I guess we're thankful that he's carrying things as he is, but it's just not great to run anyone to the ground like that. And then there's so many other people. So many people they should have built up to be able to kind of carry the ship in this spot.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to what I think Ari referred to as the hottest match of the night. We have the tag team titles on the line. Champions Swerve in Our Glory Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee versus the Acclaimed Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. And in this, we got the Acclaim winning, the Acclaim turning face after dealing with the Ass Boys. I think we talked about it a while back. Ari, I'll let you go first. What did you think about this match, and like how did we get here? Do you know how we got here?
How did we get here? Well, I think it. I think it goes back to the previous pay-per-view, which is what almost makes the results of this a little confusing. So we've got Bowen, the Acclaimed, and Swerve in Our Glory. I think they duked it out in, I forgot the name of the pay-per-view. It was like 2 weeks ago. So they had a match, and everyone was really into the match. The crowd was behind it. And with the way the match was going, everyone thought this was the time for the Acclaimed to shine. But they didn't. They actually lost the match. And so here we are maybe 2 weeks later, and at the very least, the setting and the vibe and the crowd really gives it that pay-per-view feel. But it almost feels like they're correcting something from a few weeks back. But ultimately, in terms of the match, at least from my perspective and the way I enjoyed it, it was more about the crowd. There were the chants, the "Scissor Me Daddy" was going over and over again throughout the match. We were singing songs. Oh, scissor me daddy. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I'll stop there. But the entire crowd for the whole match was just singing a song, getting really into it, getting louder and louder as the match was like building up to its end. And then once they win, it was just good energy all around, right? I said earlier that I watched this with my brother, and I looked at him and I said, more than anything, I'm just having a good time. I'm just having fun. Whatever money that I spent, like the match was just second to how much fun I was having in the crowd. And I think it's just a huge credit to them putting themselves over and over. And it's really fun to watch these performers grow. And and as I'm watching this match, I thought it'd be really cool. Like just imagining the crowd noise with an arena of 100,000. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's a pretty sick vibe.
Ryan, so this is basically a correction from All Out, it seems like.
Definitely. They should have pulled the trigger at All Out. They realized their mistake, and Tony Khan pulled the trigger a couple weeks too late, which is unfortunate. They should have gotten it right the first time around. But like Ari, I'm just glad that I was there when it actually happened, because the crowd wanted this. The Acclaimed has built up so much from the ground up to get themselves over, to get so much over with the crowd. Matt and I were there with a mutual friend who's a casual fan, and explaining to her, she looked at me and she says, "Why are we chanting 'Oh, Scissor Me Daddy'?" And just trying to put together a cohesive response made me realize how many layers of things the Acclaimed have built. So they're the Acclaimed. They do this because it's an A. They do this to celebrate. So that's where the scissoring came from. Daddy is Daddy Ass. They were in a feud with the Ass Boys, who they named. Then they stole their dad. Then they faced Swerve in Our Glory, whose chant is "Oh, Swerve in Our Glory." So they changed it to "Oh, Scissor Me Daddy." I'm like, man, over the past few months, these guys have built up this empire from nothing. It's so convoluted, but everyone is bought in. Everyone loves it, and it's incredible.
It's great, but it's also horrible, and I'm still traumatized. And I was not singing that song, and why did we have to call? Like, it's just two A's coming together. Like, I'm not even gonna say it.
I will say, after the Acclaimed one, Matt refused to scissor me. I had to turn to random strangers next to us to scissor with them. It was a great moment.
I was gonna say that's a little embarrassing in public. So
I don't blame that, and it sounds like your mutual friend didn't scissor you either, which good for her.
And then it's also the word "daddy" too, which like. And then, see, this is the thing when we podcast. It's like, am I going to talk about daddy ass on the podcast? And then it's like, it turns into a soundbite, and I end up on RHAP out of context talking about daddy ass. Like, do I really?
That's Mr. Ass too. Well, he's,
right. That's what I'm saying. This is Billy Gunn, right?
Yes.
Daddy ass. Okay. What?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. He turned on his children in order to scissor.
That's right.
The Acclaimed.
Who can blame him? Everyone loves the Acclaimed more than he loves his own sons.
You know what? The Acclaimed is so good, you'll turn on your own children.
And they'll scissor your dad.
I mean, okay. Scissoring aside, let's at least talk about
again the levels to it are just it's a lot, but it's brilliant. But it's oh my god,
it's a good
Anthony
time.
Bowen. Anthony
Yes.
Bowen becomes the first openly gay wrestler in AEW to get a championship here. Correct?
There are so many levels of like almost like clarifications or asterisks with this, because to clarify, you know, we did see Nyla Rose as the AEW Women's Champion, but as a member, like as an LGBTQ person, not a gay person. And then we've also seen Mercedes Martinez, who is also in the LGBTQ community, with the RO. What did you say about a daddy?
Asterisk me, daddy.
Oh my god. Mercedes Martinez, ROH Women's Champion, not an AEW championship. So, I mean, it is kind of funny. How dare you, Ari? Yeah, so it's just like like the representation of queer people in AEW, it needs a lot of work, but it's better than WWE in terms of at least being explicit and people being explicit about like these are the people's identities and we acknowledge it, as opposed to like this vague stuff that, I mean, we love him, but like Quincy Elliott over in NXT is a lot of fun, the super diva, and we're like, what's this, what are we getting here? Is this just like a straight man who loves to wear flashy clothes, or
yeah, a lot of ambiguity.
I think it's interesting to have Billy Gunn even in the ring. Like he was in a former like storyline that was supposed to be with Chuck, Billy and Chuck, right? So I think at the very least, when I look at this, like the question is it cool that it's just like we're normalizing it, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, we first openly get, but on the other hand, should it be celebrated, right? And I think at the very least, it's not the character. He's a wrestler. He's here to kick your ass, right? Like that's not the character. So at the very least, we've grown beyond that side of things, right? And we have the first openly gay champion without making that like this is all that defines you.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, it's a very delicate balance, and I think a lot of wrestling companies have not honestly found that balance. It feels like a lot of gay LGBTQ wrestlers normally find their niche on the independent market, because unfortunately it doesn't feel like these major companies are pushing them. How many times have we come on here and said, where's Sony Kiss? You know what I'm saying? Like it just feels like it feels like there's something missing. I love that Anthony Bowen won because his character isn't like based around him just being gay. That's the biggest thing I love about it. But I also do want them to like acknowledge it a little bit more, like to actually openly acknowledge it. And then you can go back to like, oh, he's just a part of the Acclaimed, you know. It's just very interesting.
Just to add to that though too, like the thing that's like kind of interesting to me is like, okay, Anthony Bowen's everything you said, Maury, but then there's we talk about the levels. There are the other levels where it's like, okay, now he's talking about like scissoring, and it's like, okay, interesting. Is it because he could get away with that in say the context of the community? But then there's also Mr. Ass there, and I'm just like, look, this is a lot. There's a lot happening here, and it is very homoerotic. And I just want I want the AEW fans to acknowledge that they're into this homoerotic magic.
I wonder if they know. Do they know?
I think they're singing songs about it. I was there. I heard it.
Deep in the songs.
But do they know?
They're very into it.
Strangers were scissoring, according to Ryan. I think they know.
That is, I did see it.
Moment.
I loved it. Anyway, all of that aside, I truly thought this was good for them. I have had my gripes with Max Caster specifically. But you could tell it was their time, and like Ryan said, they probably should have pulled the trigger earlier. Well, who was in that match? Who was in the All Out match?
It was, so this was a rematch. It was Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed. So they just ran it back 2 weeks later. They did it all over again.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and you know what? Duh. I remember, because I remember watching that whole match thinking, oh, is Swerve gonna turn on Keith, that whole match. Okay, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, better late than never, I guess, right? Because there's still 4 pillars that have not touched that championship yet, the top title yet. So maybe even if it's a little late, it's good that they have the championships now. So it'll be very interesting to see who's next for them specifically. All right, so
before we move on, I want to give a shout out to like Keith Lee. What I like about him is every time he gets slammed, you feel it. You don't just hear it. You feel Keith Lee. I like using him like I guess the way like WWE uses Kane, right? It's like, oh, here comes a badass down to the ring. Like I like what Keith Lee brings to the table.
Yeah, Keith and Swerve just honestly amazing.
And we do love a thank you. I was gonna say we do love a big meaty man slapping meats.
USDA prime cut. Grade A.
So accurate, Ari.
Okay, so let's hop over.
Not prime cut.
To the ROH World Championship match where Claudio Castagnoli is the champion, aka if you're not familiar, that is the former Cesaro, the Swiss Superman, going by Claudio now, versus Chris Jericho. What's Chris? What's Chris
the former
Jericho?
Chris Jericho?
The Wizard, the Lionheart, the Wizard. Okay, I'm not. I'm never sure which.
He's pulled out
Jericho you're getting. I think he's a wizard now.
And also, let me just say, it makes me uncomfortable. Please don't search Chris Jericho Wizard. Lots of things come up that are not good. Not good pictures.
Well, now I have to.
I know. You're just daring us.
I'm gonna turn safe search off.
Yeah. Ryan, how did we get here?
So this was sort of an offshoot of the Tournament of Champions. Chris Jericho got bounced by Bryan Danielson in the semifinals, needed something to do, and his justification was that he's been one of the most decorated world champions in wrestling. He's held the gold in WWE, WCW, the NJPW, everywhere, but he's never been an ROH champion. So this was his next prize. So he wanted to come for Claudio's prize, and it's also funny because ROH always prides themselves on being a pure wrestling promotion. They shake hands before they reward technical wrestling. They don't have shenanigans or interference. And right now, Chris Jericho is leaning strong into the sports entertainer aspect. So he's a hilarious fit as the ROH champion, and you could even see in his promos after he won talking about how much he respects honor and pure wrestling, very tongue-in-cheek. So it's I think from a storyline perspective, it's him picking up yet another world championship. It's him being the ROH champion while standing against everything that ROH stands for. And from an actual sort of business perspective, I think it makes sense because ROH is still relatively new in the AEW world. It doesn't have quite the footprint or viewership that Dynamite or Rampage does. And having Chris Jericho come in and be the champion, I think he'll serve a role similar to what he did being the first AEW champion, where he can be an established name, a big star, a huge draw to bring eyeballs onto this product that right now is not drawing a lot of heat. I love Claudio. I always love Cesaro, but he's not a star like Chris Jericho is. And maybe having him on weekly ROH programming and ROH pay-per-views is going to bring in a lot more butts in the seats over there.
Yeah, and I don't know if like with is this Claudio's first ROH World Championship run? Because he was in ROH back in the day. He was teaming up with Chris Hero and with Sarah Del Rey in a little faction. This must have been like 15 years ago at this point. Definitely more than 10 years ago at this point.
The Kings of Wrestling or something?
Yeah, the Kings of Wrestling. So, which it's amazing that they didn't end up being a thing in WWE, even though all three of them were signed to the WWE, or even just like Claudio and Chris Hero, but that's a whole other story. But I mean, yeah, I agree with that. And Chris Jericho is, I mean, he's you could say so much about him personally that you might not like, but he's Chris Jericho, and just putting his name there and having the championship pedigree there, like you were saying, Ryan, is pretty awesome. And you can't knock him for wanting to be like, okay, let me give the rub to ROH, because it does matter and make a difference. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I did not know ROH had weekly programming until you said it. So that
they do.
I don't know. Do they? Right?
I actually don't know if they've reestablished it yet. They stopped when they went out of business about a year ago. I know they're running pay-per-views. This is the thing. I'm a fan, and I don't even know how to watch ROH right now.
Dang, ain't that? Yeah. I definitely get that. That thought process of putting it.
I'm on the ROH website right now. I clicked on upcoming shows. You know what we got? It's a blank screen.
What? Okay, well, so I guess that means there aren't upcoming shows. Maybe they're just I don't know. It's weird.
Work in progress.
And then,
dang.
Yeah, and you know what? Even on their Twitter, like they have in their bio, they have a show listed from Saturday, July 23rd. Like, come on, people.
So the ROH title is like a MacGuffin for Chris Jericho.
So I think what we're getting at is that they need to like update their web presence. But other than that,
their web
I think update.
Where's the webmaster?
Yeah, where's the web?
That's going to be Chris Jericho's new persona, the
webmaster,
the Lion Webmaster.
Yes, we love that.
So, what did you think, Ari? Just in the arena, because this was this the match?
You're gonna love this. New York City traffic. Let me tell you, if you leave somewhere at 5:30 and you're gonna get on the BQE, you're gonna be late. I missed the match completely. I heard the crowd though. The crowd sounded, they were very into it as I was walking up the concourse, but I missed the whole match.
So funny.
Yeah, and this was a good match to start the show, or to start the main card of the show. I mean, it's like these two huge stars. And I think the thing about Claudio, like, he brings in the swing with him all the time, so that's really recognizable and gets people excited, and there's teasing that. And it was such a solid match. Like the way that Chris Jericho is still able to work in it, and I haven't complimented Chris Jericho this much in a long time, maybe since like, I don't know, 20 years ago, who knows? But he just he doesn't look like he's as old and wrinkly as he is these days. And yeah,
that was the compliment.
That's the worst compliment I've ever heard.
Well, I thought to myself, you
don't look like an old glove, you look like a new glove.
I need to water down the compliment for Chris Jericho.
New catcher's mitt.
You could hear it.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
did they begin? Were there any promos before, or did they just kick it off with a Jericho song?
We got a Tony Khan promo before.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't miss much there.
Yeah, I know. And that's kind of one thing I would say, too, that was interesting about this show, is that I just feel like it's very promo light. And maybe that's just how AEW is compared with WWE as a WWE fan primarily. But we have Chris Jericho. Put him on the mic. We have other people who we'll talk about. Definitely put them on the mic. So that's the part that was missing for me, just the wrestling promos of it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Chris Jericho and Claudio?
Just as old and wrinkly as Chris Jericho is, I've always heard that Cesaro and Claudio is one of the strongest wrestlers on earth. Seeing him in person for the full time, this man is just all muscles. He is impressive in person. I think it's the right choice to put the belt on Chris Jericho, but I've got a new appreciation for Claudio. Seeing him do his thing in person, what a wrestler.
Ryan, you say that from, mind you, and by the way, Chris Jericho is leathery. That's another term to describe him. But
oh my God.
We'll say, Ryan, you said that, and you said that in person, like when we were like, look how muscular he is. And I was like,
crazy.
We are 1,000 feet away from this man, and you can see his muscles.
We did not have good seats, and it still made an impression.
It is. I agree.
I'm done. Okay, so the AEW All Atlantic Championship match. We had the Bastard Pack against Orange Cassidy. Every time I see his name, I want to say Pac, like Tupac. But I have to keep reminding myself.
Pac,
but
Pac.
Did I say Orange Cassidy? Orange Cassidy.
Marty, you didn't.
I know.
You didn't say Orange Julius.
I did.
He did.
Oh,
or he did. Yeah, I actually, this was probably the match that from my living room I like truly like really enjoyed. It was on my DVR didn't catch the Chris Jericho match. So just like Ari, I did not get to see all of it. So, but I love Orange Cat. I've always like loved big weird characters like that. So seeing him come out, I feel like I haven't seen him come out to his own music in forever. And seeing like his own music, seeing the the drawings on the Titantron insert photo here, had me going from the beginning. So watching him come out, watching Pat come out, I was really interested because, like I said, I feel like I haven't seen Orange Cassidy wrestle in forever, and I know that's a me thing, not a AEW thing. I don't think.
Same.
So watching the first few exchanges with him and Pac, I was like, oh, that's so cool. He doesn't have his hands in his jeans like as much anymore, and you could tell like I don't know what the backstory was, but I just really like this match. Ryan, would you want to tell us a little bit more about the backstory?
Oh yeah. I'm with you as being a huge Orange Cassidy fan. And so Orange Cassidy and Pac wrestled for the first time at AEW Revolution, I think about 2 years ago. And I think that to this day is one of, if not my favorite match that AEW has ever put on. It was peak Orange Cassidy. He was super over back then. Back then, he was more of a pure comedy character. He really leaned into the hands in the pockets, the little soft kicks he does, all of that. And this was his first pay-per-view level match against Pac, whose whole thing is he's a serious, gruff wrestler. And I think I love comedy wrestling. It was perfectly executed. And I was super excited when they announced this match for this. So I knew it wasn't going to live up to those expectations because Orange Cassidy has evolved from them. He's since that point, he's not a pure comedy wrestler. He actually puts in effort now. He does actual wrestling moves, which I understand. You can't get that much mileage out of a pure comedy character. He had to evolve, but I miss the good old days. But basically, the setup here is that Pac has many championships currently. He holds the Trios Championship. He holds the All Atlantic Championship. And the backstory was that Orange Cassidy just kind of punched him in the face backstage and said he wanted the All Atlantic Championship. And here we go. So there wasn't too much of a backstory to it. But, for fans who really enjoyed their first match, who really enjoyed both these wrestlers, you knew what you were getting. It was going to be some good comedy spots, some really impressive athleticism. And we got both of those. Not quite the way they performed the first time around, but I still enjoyed it. Orange Cassidy is always a blast.
Yeah, and we love a comedy wrestler. Like that's the thing. He brings something different to the table, and even aesthetically, he looks different. And I would say that Orange Cassidy is. I mean, if he's not the best comedy wrestler that AEW has seen, he's definitely up there in the top few, along with my friend and former improv colleague Scott Colton, aka Colt Cabana. And I promise, I'm a journalist. I'm
sorry, yeah, Matt. Do you consider yourself a journalist?
I am. Yes, very much so. Yes, me and Scott, we only enjoy Mindy's bakery muffins here and there. But yeah, like I love that, and in all seriousness, Colt Cabana is an incredible comedy wrestler, and I think even having like someone like him back in there and just kind of contributing would add a lot, because he's one that stands out. And actually there is I have to like find it and look it up, and maybe I'll even like share it and all. But like there is a great series I think it's like Funny Equals Money is something that Colt Cabana put out there that's about these different comedy wrestlers. Orange Cassidy may or may not be included, but my point, I think, with AEW overall is like we need more I mean this beyond demographics. We need like more diverse characters who are just not all like the guy in the little black trunks and wrestling well, because we get a lot of that.
That's always been AEW's philosophy. I think it's gone by the wayside, but wrestling can be many different things. And they've never had a house style like WWE is. You can go to an AEW show, you can see two big meaty men slapping meat, followed by some luchadors doing crazy flippy stuff, followed by a comedy match. And, it's a little something for everyone. And as they've grown, they've had to appeal to a mainstream market more. It's becoming more wrestling. But Orange Cassidy, I hope keeps the torch going for comedy wrestling until pizza chef Luigi Primo takes it from him, possibly. But
milkshake duck.
Have we talked? We have not talked about Pizza Chef guy. Yeah, with his little pizza.
Well, he just had his first AMA, and it came out that he is an anti-vaxxer and can't go to Canada for shows. So, the shine has come off a little bit already.
Mamma mia.
Well, that was quick. And
milkshake duck. So yeah. Okay, so I mean, for a match with like no build, that was pretty good. Ari, any thoughts on Pac versus Cassidy?
I think Ryan already touched on it. I like the yin and the yang between the two. It's like serious business, and this is a guy that doesn't take you seriously. So on one hand, I actually enjoyed Orange Cassidy getting his ass kicked. It's like, all right, buddy, like take this serious for once, right? And I feel like you guys are really hitting it on the head. Like he is evolving from his joke character where he's still trolling, but his trolling seems to be like to his advantage. Like there was a spot in the match where Pac was going to do his move, and rather than move out of the way, Orange Cassidy just had his knees up and was like, all right, well, go ahead. Do what you're going to do. So I appreciate those kind of thoughts being put into it. So I've always been an Orange Cassidy fan. But I also like the fact that he gets beat up because it's time to take things seriously. So I'm just enjoying these two really work together.
Yeah, and like Pac, also incredible in the ring, and just like his selling. Like there was a sequence where he took a diving DDT or diving tornado DDT, I think, and then the way he sold, like his body contorted and arched. And then he took like another tilt-a-whirl DDT and the same thing. And it's just cool to see I wouldn't even call it a clash of styles, but to see the styles come together and kind of give you something. A match where we talked about, Ryan, you were talking about like something for everyone in a lot of ways with AEW, or it's like increasingly building toward that. And this match is in some ways is the epitome of that.
The only change I'd give to Pac is fashion. I like to talk fashion. The same gear that he has, but give him like a necktie, and that's it. I think that'd complete the whole ensemble.
Oh, look.
What's
the trunks?
I won't even ask.
Necktie.
Yeah.
This is all business.
Okay.
All business.
Let's talk about the women. We had a fatal 4-way match for the interim AEW World Women's Championship. Like I mentioned earlier, Thunder Rosa is out with an injury. We did crown the interim champion, Toni Storm, at All Out, I believe. And this match was Toni Storm, the champion, versus Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon in WWE, Britt Baker, DMD, and Serena Deeb. Wait, you just brought a big Britt Baker. That was it. In a fatal 4-way match. There you go. Yeah. Okay. All right. So of course, I'm gonna ask Ryan. How did we get a fatal 4-way match?
Well, so Thunder Rosa is the women's champion and is out with injury. Potentially, some people are questioning that maybe she's just out because she doesn't want to drop the championship. A lot of intrigue there. So they had to have a championship match at All Out to crown an interim women's championship champion. Toni Storm won this, and we've been working to establish her as a strong champion in the past couple weeks. We always knew she was going to win this. They're not going to take it off of her 2 weeks after she just took the belt. And I think this fatal 4-way from a booking perspective was a way to put her in the ring with some of the strongest women's wrestlers that AEW has and show that she can get a dominant victory. She can beat the best of the best. She deserves to be a champion. And when Thunder Rosa gets back, she's got a good fighting chance to unify the championships. From a storyline perspective, this was a little bit rushed. Again, we had about 2 weeks to go up to it. It was a classic. These 4 women were in a tag match last week on Dynamite, and they couldn't get along. They clashed, and they decided to have a 4-way for the championship.
Okay.
couple undercurrents of this is that Jamie Hayter has been chafing in her position as Britt Baker's henchwoman and has been teasing a face turn to turn on Britt Baker. We always want to see what she was going to do in this match.
You said chafing?
Chafing. Chafing, scissoring, all great
the above.
Just making sure. On your podcast. But yeah, this was just, proving Toni Storm against some of the stronger competitors. I think it was a great match. Athena for me was the MVP. I know Matt is a huge Serena Deeb stan, but Athena just, I think, got the best showcases of the match, just to show her strength and power. She has one of the coolest entrance attires, I think, in all of AEW. She didn't have the glowing wings this time around, which is a bit of a letdown for me. But otherwise, great match. Overshadowed a bit by the aftermath. I'll let you spoil that.
Well, just to kind of like touch on the match for a second, it's kind of tough. Like, this is the match that I'd go in probably most excited for and most interested in, just because I love Athena. I really love Athena. I just want to see more and more from her. And then Serena is really interesting because she's such a smart wrestler with a lot of smart spots. Like, everything is so brainy, and she's the professor for a reason. And then Britt Baker, DMD, obviously she has that legacy within AEW, which is powerful. But they did not have the time. Like, the thing that annoyed me is that on this show, like, the women's action didn't get more than 20 minutes. And like, we were expected to be there for 4 hours to this whole thing. And the women didn't even get 20 minutes. And it's like, it's insane because the reason I knew, I was like, oh, this is going to be a rushed one, is that they started coming out. And I'm not even sure what this was like on TV or if this was on TV, but they started coming out. They each had their music and their entrance. And before they even each like made it to the ring, their music was cut. And then they were on to the next person. It's like, uh-oh, another rushed women's match. They fit in a lot into the time that they had, and they did an amazing job with what they had. But in the back of my head, I was just annoyed knowing that it was going to be a 10-minute match. And they deserve so much more. And I want Tony Khan to do better. Like, why is WWE so much better in terms of the women? It's frustrating because these 4 are so talented, as are the others who came out after.
Yeah, the women's match got 13 minutes and 20 seconds. And I don't know if that is counting the entrances.
Probably not counting the entrances. But...
And that is literally the lowest.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, hold up.
It's not.
I might be looking at the wrong.
We're doing the math. Mari's tabulating. Anyways. She's got the calculator out right now. What's going on, Mari?
So I might have to. I think I might be looking at last year's Grand Slam. I'll figure it out. But I lost my track. But so hear me out. The match, I think you make a good point. Like, the time, I will check the time on that, but I thought that match had like kind of the better spots. Like, I really liked the Serena Deeb with like the one leg. That spot amuses me while also just being like, this don't make no sense. But has the one leg wrapped around her opponent that's on the ground, holding them pinned there, and then she had her other opponent like in like a headlock or something like that. And it's just very funny with like one person like using joints and all of that to like kind of subdue 2 people. And then we had like the double crab, like a half crab take down between I think it was Britt and Serena here. And so I really like some of the spots. But
and by the way, Mari, just to kind of come back to the timing, it was the shortest match on the main card at 9 minutes 50 seconds.
Oh my god, that's even worse. Yeah. 9 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Everybody else had about 13. 14.
Yeah. So not great, but
ew. Yeah.
I think like the thing for me, by the way, is like less this match being short. One, it was like, again, the entrances were really rushed, and it felt like, okay, we're just trying to get to the point where Toni wins here and just continues to establish her championship. But then you look at like, I mean, we'll talk about Jade Cargill, and I love Jade Cargill, but like the fact that her matches are so short then means that we don't get that much time for the women on the shows, and
all together.
Yeah.
And I think they were setting aside most of the women's time for Saraya to enter. They viewed that as, hey, we give the women 15 minutes and we're using most of that for Saraya. So wrestle quickly.
Yes.
Wait, and by the way, as we start to get there, let me just, Mari, let me ask you. Well, I'm curious how you feel, but I'm sure you want to set up what happens. The fact that, okay, well, let me just break it down. So in the ring, we get Tony. She gets the little roll up, the little small package. Then we get Britt Baker, who's like, I'm mad. And I'm also bleeding for some reason. So she has like a bloody nose, which is like, she's like the John Moxley of the AEW women's division at this point, I guess, like with all the blood. But she attacks Tony. Then Jamie Hayter comes out and we're not sure. Is she going to stop Britt? No, she joins in. And then Serena joins in too. And it's 3-on-1. And then Athena gets attacked too. And then the music hits. And it's Saraya. And by the way, I will say, like, being in person live in the arena, like, I didn't know that she was coming. I wasn't spoiled. So, like, just hearing the music, I was like, wait, this sounds like it's AEW's music producers creating a song based on her WWE music. Okay, we got it. It's happening. It's Saraya. And I was so excited, but I say all that, Mari, to pass it to you because you do not seem that excited.
No, first
I
off,
wasn't going to make you explain what happened because that would be too brutal.
First off, ew.
Wait, what's the ew?
Why would Britt Baker just smear her blood on everybody? Like,
all over.
I'm sorry. I'm punching you for real if you do that to me. I don't care. Like, do not do that. Like, I think she got her nose busted because Athena did like the 2-on-1. She had two people on her and then did the fallaway slam, landed directly on Britt Baker's face. And I was like, dang, that sucks. But Britt Baker coming back. She is always bleeding, and I've said it on here multiple times. Like, once was cute. 5 times, I'm like, I don't care.
Like a medical condition.
Now you're spreading it on people. You're spreading it on yourself. There's a pandemic going on. I don't care what anybody says. It's still nasty. As somebody in the healthcare field, that was very distracting to me.
I was gonna say, Mari is speaking as a medical professional.
This is very, very distracting. But then, yeah, Saraya comes out, and it was just like, all right, girl, cool. She's back. Maybe. Because
no,
she didn't touch anybody. They cleared the ring for her. I'm like, it's still like, it was still 4-on-2 at that point, and then Saraya comes 4-on-3. Y'all running? I don't understand. Like, because Hayter was there. What's her name? Reba.
Rebel Reba. Mari,
hopefully Saraya takes the role that Mark Henry has on Rampage, and like Saraya just announces the main event. Like, is that what we're building?
I don't
towards?
know, because they're saying she still wasn't medically cleared when she did that. So it's
wasn't
just
a pretty
like,
dangerous injury as well.
Yeah, I mean, so no matter what, I'm glad she's doing what she's doing. I guess this even further makes sense as to why she announced she was leaving WWE when we were like, okay, girl. So I like Saraya. Most of the stuff about her that I don't gel with is just off kayfabe stuff. Like, I enjoyed her time, as Paige in the WWE. It's just a lot of her like off camera stuff that I don't enjoy. But my biggest thing is like safety. I just hope that if she does get in the ring, it's because it's safe, because I just don't want another wrestler blamed if something else were to happen to her in ring. And I don't want anything to happen to her in ring. Like, I do not want to see somebody get paralyzed in ring. At the best case, die at the worst case. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't.
For real.
We don't want to see that. Yeah,
I mean, we've seen a lot of people come back from career-ending injuries lately. Bryan Danielson came back, Edge came back. So maybe Saraya can, but what I'm concerned about, honestly, is that AEW's women's roster isn't as deep as WWE's. You've got a lot of green wrestlers. On All Out, Tay Mello broke Ruby Soho's nose and dropped her on her neck because she's new to the game. So there are a lot of veterans who I would trust to put in the ring with someone with an injury like Saraya has. You've got Serena Deeb there, you've got Athena, you've got Britt Baker, who who know what they're doing. But I hope they're careful putting her in the ring with some of their newer recruits that have a history of, some botches that could be more disastrous when they're working with someone like Saraya.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like, I really like Saraya. On the opposite side of Mari here. I truly do, because and for me, a lot of it is, there's been a lot of stuff like outside of the ring that has I think from where I come from is like there's just so much, like it's just sad to look at what her career has been and a lot of what her life has been. And she's like maybe still in her 20s, if not just maybe she's early 30s now. We're around the same age, but like just to see like the growth, and then also to like listen to interviews where she's reflecting on just kind of that growth and how she's feeling. And like I want to root for her, and I think a lot of people want to root for her. And let's hope that things are moving in the right direction. But I mean, and she was such an epic wrestler. The thing is, like, if we're gonna get her in AEW, like, it would be amazing if she is at the point where she could wrestle, that she does wrestle here and there. But I just don't know exactly what the role is going to be at this point, because like she's not cleared apparently, and
she's 30.
She's 30, yeah. So I don't know. I like this a lot, but like I do think it was goofy as hell though that everyone was like, "Oh no, not Saraya! Oh, not the person from Fighting with My Family." Yeah, with a broken freaking neck. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm glad she has somewhere to go. Like, clearly, I'm just worried. I am worried. I just like I was worried when Daniel Bryan came back to the WWE, and all of his first few matches, I was like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like every single bump.
He takes a chop, and you're like, "Oh no!"
Exactly. And with Edge, like it's always gonna be like that when you have people who are coming back from like career-ending injuries, especially in the the first half, at the beginning, because you're gonna be on guard. Because I was completely off guard when she came back that the first time, before she had got the really bad injury when she was in the ring with Sasha. Like I just hope that she knows her body this time, because from what we know now, she did not know the extent she could push back then, and it ended up costing her. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just hoping that she's smart about it. I know she was saying like Bryan Danielson was like trying to help her like get back. Just be careful. Like that's the biggest thing. Just be careful. It's not nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Like period, point blank. That like at all. So
it'll be very interesting how. Oh, sorry.
No. I was just gonna say I wish her best of luck.
And it'll be interesting to see how Saraya turns the page.
What a daddy joke, and we love it. Daddy Ari. I'll also just say too, like it is sad because it seems like WWE just was like, yeah, we're not going to renew your contract, and she hasn't been on TV, or I mean, I don't know if they
she was on like a Legends contract. I think
she was on a Legends contract, and like she was a great GM. She's a great general manager on SmackDown. She's great on the mic. She could be a manager.
Are you sure they didn't renew it, or she didn't resign?
I mean, one way or the other, they should have fought for that if they did. I don't know if they did, but because she's, as a character, has so much that she's able to bring. She has such a loyal fan base still. You don't just let that go. Mari's like, yeah, I'm still wondering where Naomi and Sasha are.
Exactly.
Which, like, maybe I'm projecting, but I get it. Yeah, she could go.
Imagine
maybe she'll be happy
the reaction if that surprise entrance was Sasha Banks instead of Saraya.
I'd be so annoyed, though. Actually,
I would.
In AEW,
I would have lost it.
Okay, wait. I lied.
Her to come back and wrestle.
No, I would have lost it. I would have started crying being in the building, in the arena. I mean, maybe again, this would be an AEW exclusive podcast. All Elite Wrestling RHAPup is.
This wouldn't be our one-off. This would be like.
This would be the start of it all.
I just still like I said, I want to see what they do with her. A lot of people are saying they should give her like a female GM role, like she, she'd be good in that. I think Matt is onto something. She does have a great character presence and stuff like that. And they tried it with her and the Kabuki Warriors before she left her on-screen role with WWE.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots. I do agree. There's lots of things you can do with her. So I think this is a great start. People are excited. Let's see if they follow up. And I also can see if Matt is like, you're a little apprehensive about the women in general and how like they present the women in general. So how will she fit in when we're presenting the women in general?
But I mean, I would like, okay, to your point though about Sasha and Naomi, we'll bring her in here. Like I would be more concerned if they were there, because I would be like, you know, be like a "that's my mama" situation. Like, please leave them alone and don't bother them. But with Saraya, you know, I know she just wants to be there. She's happy to be there. She wasn't doing anything else. Like, we'll see what they do, and hopefully she has a good time. But I don't think I don't imagine us being too concerned about how they book her, how they use her. And I think that they'll use her plenty, just given her pedigree.
Okay. All right. Wait and see. Maybe we'll follow up with that. Let's pause for a quick break, and then we'll come back for when we talk about the championships. But that is it for the highlights of the week. All the highlights of the week can be found in a handy dandy playlist in your show notes or your show description. So let's take a break.
Wait, Mari. Before we take a break, we didn't spend proper time talking about Jade Cargill.
Okay. All right. You're right. All right. You want to talk about
as much time as her matches do? 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
We talked about it.
If you ask Matt, there will never be enough time to talk about Jade Cargill.
I'm just saying, Jade is phenomenal. We did see on the show, obviously, she had a little baddie section, Diamante, Trina, all of that. Check it out. I had a moment, and Mari, you didn't know that this was coming, but I just wanted to share something, because AEW doesn't post videos of anything on time. But here's let me just hit play on this.
Ryan, do you think you should be in the baddie section? It doesn't matter what you think, you can't be in the baddie section. Now take that, but I can, baby.
What a simp.
Just need to get that in before we go to break and give that to you, Mari.
Okay. I loved it.
Amazing.
That was great.
So I did end up in the baddie section.
Will the world be able to see that?
Yes, they will.
Yes.
Leave it to Matt to just film himself during Jade Cargill's entrance.
I know, it was her exit, by the way, at that point. And you know what? You can't be in the baddie section. Leave her alone. She never responded to my tweet. I get it. It's cool. But
because she knew she didn't have to respond, because she knew that you would be in the baddie section. Like,
but Jade,
it didn't need to be confirmed.
Hold on. Jade, if you're watching right now, I need you to know, me and Mari, we're here for the baddie section. Me, Mari, Ari will also be in the baddie section. Me, Mari, Ari, definitely not Ryan, are here for the baddie section. So take it in. Everybody, look hot. Look like baddies.
Oh.
Should I leave? Should I leave for this?
It's okay. It's okay. You're unacceptable. Yeah, hi.
That was great. Now I feel like I wasted an outro though. That's cool. That's cool.
You can do it again.
We'll do it again.
Do the gimmick. The people know that I'm here with. I'm like the wild card, Brian, loose cannon, all of it. So again, you know, Mari, you know what I would like us to do right now before we get to talking about the championships? I never get to do this. Wait, let me do it. Let's take a break, and we'll be back to talk about the championships.
Beautiful.
You're not supposed to talk in the. And we're back.
And we're back.
Can't have nice things.
Oh my gosh. All right, so we're back and we're gonna do the shoot. Shoot is any like real life occurrence in wrestling, an event. Sometimes we decide to shoot and just decide if we're talking about something good or talking about something bad. This week I am going to ask our esteemed panel of guests and Matt, if there are too many championship titles in AEW. So before we talk about this, let me run down the list of championships in AEW.
Oh my god. And this, Mari, will this include Ring of Honor also?
Yes, it will, because technically with Ring of Honor not having a live weekly show, question mark, the ROH champions do, perform on AEW, and they do be having the belts. So let's start with, the AEW World Champion, like we discussed earlier, is Jon Moxley. We have the AEW Women's Champion, so we have an interim belt. So Thunder Rosa is the champion right now. She's out. And then we have Toni Storm, who has the interim belt. We have the AEW TNT Championship, which Wardlow featured on Rampage. We have the AEW TBS Championship, which is the women's secondary title. We have the AEW All Atlantic Championship, which Pac won. Has been holding, but beat Orange Cassidy for. We have the AEW World Tag Team Champions, which are now the Acclaimed. And then the AEW World Trios Championship held by Death Triangle. And then does the FTW Championship count?
It counts.
Count it.
By hook?
It's a literal title made up. Like he made it up. It's like, I'm better than you. And okay.
It works.
So
here you go,
so
that he won it.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 championships, not including the interim.
And it also doesn't include, just in terms of AEW before getting to ROH, it doesn't include like the different I don't know if I'd call them, I won't say titles, but like honors that people have. There's the Casino Battle Royal chip thing. There's the King and Queen, the Owen Hart tournament stuff that happened. So there's a long list of other stuff that I can't even rattle off, but those are also a factor, I think.
Yep, great point.
Got rings in there as well. MJF is a 2-time ring man. The Ring of Honor. What is that? The ring.
The diamond ring.
The diamond ring. The brass ring.
What? Oh yeah, he grabbed the brass ring. That's a thing.
And
that's not even including, it's 8 championships, but some of these are tag teams and trios. So we're talking like 15 human beings walking around with some gold.
Yeah, and that's not even including like FTR, who, okay, well, let me run over to the ROH here. But so ROH World Champion is Jericho, like we talked about. The ROH Women's World Champion is Mercedes Martinez. I think that's a pretty new belt there, right?
Yeah.
The ROH World TV Champion.
They're not even on TV.
Well, technically Samoa Joe. That is on Samoa Joe, and he was on TV with Wardlow on Rampage. So him and Wardlow's the TNT champion. He's the ROH World TV Champion. They're kind of like teaming up right now. Yeah. Then we have the ROH Pure Champion, which was just won by Daniel Garcia. Was that at All Out? I think everybody was really excited about that. And then, like I said, the FTR is the ROH World Tag Team Champions, but they are also the IGWP champions, and I think they still got their AAA belts, right?
They got all the gold.
Jeez Louise. And then there's a ROH World 6-man champion.
Yeah.
But I have not seen
Castle and the Boys
in forever. I haven't seen.
Same.
That's very interesting. Ryan, do you know anything about them?
Yeah.
The Boys?
Yeah. Who are these people? Yeah. The Boys.
Names.
Dalton Castle is a flamboyant peacock of a man who has a coterie of interchangeable buff shirtless men who follow him around, and he wins championships with
that I do know. Yes, but I feel like I haven't seen him anywhere though.
He's been on Dark occasionally. I think he's really, you got to go deep into the annals of AEW content to get some Dalton Castle in your life.
Gotcha. Because I don't even be seeing him on the timeline. So that's very interesting. So so if we put the 8 AEW championships plus the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Already lost count.
Technically 6, I guess, if we include those ROH World 6-Man Champion. I won't include those just because they're not on TV. So 5 plus 8, that's 13.
I'm good at math. Divided by
13, yes. That's 13.
Yeah, that's 13 championships. That's not 13 title belts because most of those are like double belts. And
it's like 20 belts.
It's a lot of belts. It's like a lot of people walking around with belts. Yeah. So, and the WWE counterpart, I mean, technically, let's see, they had the Universal and we're talking about before the unification or anything like that. They have the Universal title and the WWE Championship. We have 2 tag team belts. We have 2 women's belts. And then we have the Intercontinental and the US belt. So 8 in WWE.
What? Yeah.
I'm counting.
That was just off the top of your head.
The women's tag titles are back, kind of. Now.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Ryan. 9.
Maybe.
And the 24/7 championship. Did you say that?
I did not.
We're getting close.
That's like an FTW level championship, though.
You're right.
But the fact that WWE has less championships and like significantly more television time is notable.
And and then they put the top belts like currently 4 of those championships are tied up onto just 2 acts. So
this is a lot of math.
Yeah, I don't like it, any of it. Like I don't like having a whole bunch of belts, and I don't like having a whole bunch of belts that are then on the same people so that you don't have any belts. Like it seems like a lot. Ari, I know you have some strong opinions about a lot of titles.
It is a lot. I referenced earlier. It feels like I'm watching the GM mode of a WWE game, and it literally feels like me as a kid creating titles in the video games, in the SmackDown versus Raw and the WWE, and you'd create these new championships. And I feel like that's what I'm watching with AEW. On one hand, I think it is kind of cool that they're introducing, hey, there's this whole other world. And you may not have seen them in AEW, but they went to Japan and they secured the bag and then they're bringing it here. I think that's kind of cool. It's almost like saying we're the best brand. We can go all over the world and compete. But when you're doing tag team and trios, it just feels like every single person that's coming out, if everyone's a champion, who the hell is the champion, right? Like and even in the WWE side, right? Like you're the champion of the universe or you're the champion of a company. Like which one's better? I feel like if you're gonna have that many championships, like at least make them have different rules. I actually appreciate that ROH Pure Championship, right? If wrestling is for everyone, if that's gonna be the umbrella and the gimmick, all right, well, this to be the winner of this, you have to follow these set of rules. I think that's interesting. However, we don't need a Mid-Atlantic, which has a Japanese flag on it, if I'm not mistaken. That's a little absurd.
I'm talking about the All Atlantic, I think.
All Atlantic, what do I call it? Mid-Atlantic.
The Mid-Atlantic is just for wrestlers from Pennsylvania and Maryland.
Another championship. I think Adam Page might have won that one.
Yeah, and then I just realized I forgot to include NXT's titles because I'm developmental, but that's another the main championship, the North American, the women's, and the women's tag and the men's tag. So that's another 5. So WWE through all 3 brands have 15 championships as well. So they supersede AEW, but it is very close. Like Matt said, it's very close in titles with not the same amount of time. Ryan, do you care about all of the titles? What is your thought about this?
I think there are many I think there are too many. My short answer. I think there's tons of belts. We list them all off, and when everyone's a champion, no one is. It really dilutes the meaning of it. And again, we were watching Grand Slam with a non-wrestling fan, and she was getting increasingly exasperated with every match, where she's like, "Which one is this?" I'm like, "This is the championship match." She's like, "The last one was the championship match." Oh yeah, but the next one's also a championship match. I think every match on the Grand Slam card was a championship match, and it's obviously confusing. It takes a lot of the meaning out. At the same time, AEW has a huge roster right now, and you need something for these wrestlers to fight for. And you can put together compelling feuds based on personal issues or personal storylines. Eddie Kingston versus Sammy Guevara was a great example of that. But it's easier when you have a belt just to justify this fight happening. But I will say, I don't think they need to have all of these belts in-house in ROH or AEW. Like Ari said, something I really like about AEW is that they interact with other promotions. And when you have a champion holding another promotion's belt, it's a great gateway into the wider universe of wrestling. And I think they used to lean on that more in their early days before they had their own sort of roster of championships. They had Kenny Omega as the Impact World Championship. John Moxley held the New Japan US Championship. And it was great because you had something to fight for, but it also allowed you to interact with this whole other world of wrestling in a new way. And I'd like to see them lean more in that direction than just pumping out a new belt every time they think they need to start a feud.
That's a good point.
It is, and I think like just the fact that there are so many champions also means that there's a dynamic where, like Wardlow, for example, is champion, so you don't have the chase in that. Like with a lot of faces, one of the things that we talk about sometimes is just like the thrill of the chase, and you want to see your baby faces fighting and clawing and working toward that thing. But when they have that thing, I mean, yes, that means there are other people who could like fight them and they're defending, and that's its own story. But it is interesting to me that there's so many people who are kind of already tied up in their, they have their thing. So are they just striving to defend it or what? Like what's going on?
Like we can't have Jade Cargill fighting for the women's championship right now because she's got a belt.
Right.
And the way she's been presented as this undefeated beast, like she should by all rights be going for that championship. If this mid-card title didn't exist, we'd get that.
And that's my thought. That's my thoughts as well. Like as much as AEW that I consume, which isn't that much, the one thing I have felt about it is like it feels like the top belt is only being contended by a handful of people, like the same people. So in order to keep their younger, fresher talent still hot, they're giving them these smaller belts, like Sammy having the TNT title so many times, Wardlow like getting over the hump of MJF and all of that, and being pushed only to the TNT title felt weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Like using these secondary belts to like it's supposed to help, propel your hot acts, your younger hot acts, but it feels like it's kind of stifling them because they should be coming, like I kind of alluded to at the beginning of the podcast. It's like I'm glad we got Moxley and Danielson, but I feel like why aren't any of the pillars, like why MJF just might finally get the crack at the belt. Sammy is just wrestling Eddie Kingston. Funny blood feud, hilarious to me, but like why is he down there? Jungle Boy is still fighting Christian. Like I'm confused here, and Darby Allin, that the one match I did not watch on Rampage was Darby Allin and Sting versus House of Black, because I'm like, haven't we seen this a few times, or is that just me? Like I feel like we should be propelling the younger talent to that top spot, and they're not, and this is why they're getting upset and grumbly. This is why MJF is like, what am I even doing here? Or am I overstepping? Am I overstepping here, Ryan?
No, I think you're right. They view these belts as a way to elevate talent, but they can become a ceiling. Once you hit that, they keep you there. You're not going to make it into the main event scene if you got to defend your TNT or TBS or All Atlantic or Trios or Tag Championship. You're too busy.
But exactly. I mean, just to kind of like play devil's advocate too, with the other side of it, I don't mind most of the championships. Like there's some where it's like, what? Like, who's the champion? What's the name of the championship? It's hard to keep up. But like, to be Hook and you have the FTW championship, like, I mean, actually Hook's interesting because I don't think Hook needs it to build his brand and his name. But if you look at Hook, if you look at like Pac, if you look at a lot of these people, like, if they're on social media saying I'm the champion, or if they're going to an indie show and saying I hold this champion in AEW, that does raise their stock, in at least from what I perceive, as opposed to being like, I'm just this random person who doesn't have a championship in this major wrestling company. So I like it from that perspective, because it's a much different scenario than WWE. Like, most of these people are not actually, I mean, I think all of them have the ability to wrestle matches elsewhere, and we see it here and there. So I like that they're able to like bring that and represent that, and then it also builds their brand and maybe leads to them getting more bookings or making more money, and it makes them more distinct rather than like the random, I'm just this person who happens to be an AEW wrestler. So that's like the opposite side I think of.
Well, let me ask you guys, since you watch more WWE than I do. I think they're in the polar opposite of the spectrum here. I mean, they have a lot of belts like we listed, but with the Usos having both the tag titles, Roman Reigns has both the heavyweight championships. Really, the entire rest of the main roster men's wrestlers only have the United States and Intercontinental belts to go after. So when there's not those championships to chase, do you guys feel like things are getting stagnant with their mid card and their undercard?
Oh, definitely. It's been my main complaint. It's been my main complaint since they put both the belts on Roman. I truly hate it. Like, I really do. And it's kind of funny because, I was on the side at first of like, oh, does WWE have too many belts? No. I once you do the brand split, I really liked when they did the brand split. Like, of course, the brand split in 2016, the most modern one, was great. Those first 2 years, year and a half was amazing. And then I feel like it kind of has dwindled since then, and I like the brand being split because you should be getting more stories being told, you should be getting more people being featured. But with Roman holding both the belts, the Usos holding both the belts, Roman not being there, the Usos, whatever, I'm almost up to here with it. Like, I'm kind of up to here with it because I was talking about it, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. There's so many really good tag teams on WWE right now, and they're all just fighting each other for nothing because the Usos don't even they barely even defend their titles. Like, it's so annoying. And so I think both these companies are definitely on the opposite end, and there has to be a happy medium somewhere.
I think, one thing I would say too, it's interesting, like, getting both sides of the coin with this conversation, because the other thing is, to your point, a little bit more, you're making a different point, but related to your point about like the tag teams just kind of wrestling each other for nothing. I think that in pro wrestling, like, logically, when I think of kayfabe, if I'm a wrestler, I should be fighting for a championship. Now, maybe I'm not good enough to like take on John Moxley, but maybe I look at him like, I don't know about Word though. He's a little bit big and he's just a big meaty man. I don't know if I can slap meats with him. Speaking of, that doesn't sound like a bad
you
thing.
lost your own train of thought.
I was like, I could shout out to Low from Wrestling Line Down.
Yeah.
But like, I could take on Hook, so then I go after the FTW championship. So I mean, I like the idea. I mean, I wonder if we looked at the roster, is everyone going after a championship? Because I think that's kind of a cool concept rather than just being happy to be there and like spinning your wheels. Like, oh, I'm just a wrestler with no goal or purpose. Like, no, you should want gold. That's why you're there, right?
Right, man. You're actually selling me on it. I kind of see where you're coming from. Although, still get rid of that All Atlantic. We don't need that. Get it out of here.
Yeah, All Atlantic. What does that
All
mean?
Atlantic. What?
Yeah,
you are selling me on it. It does make sense in terms of just keeping everyone engaged, right? Like, what are we fighting for? I can only have so much personal beef with how many people am I going to have a personal problem with, right? Before I just want to be a competitor and go for the gold.
It's really interesting because I'm constantly on here like saying I want more personal beef. At least it's kind of funny because AEW, that personal beef be like so personal. Like, you're fat, you go to rehab. You like on the other side, WWE is like
it's dark.
Yeah, it's just, I just want your championship. Like, I think at the end of the day, too many championships or not enough championships. The biggest thing I think we can all agree on that we want is cohesive storytelling and actual storylines.
I think that's what I'm hearing, right? Ultimately, because with the, I think Matt, you pretty much explained it perfectly, right? Like the World Championship. If you're just starting out, sure, you'll have the ambition, but are you really going to challenge the main man? Like you gotta know your role.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
And
maybe it just boils down to, if they are bringing in, a lot of the confusion also comes from the other promotions. Sometimes these guys show up like a New Japan.
Oh, yeah.
So that can be a little confusing. But ultimately, as long as you produce it correctly, maybe it's just saying like, oh, you haven't seen Kenny Omega in a while. Guess what? He's been traveling the world and he brought this home just for you. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to it, and just being Tony Khan, be better.
I actually did. I don't like I kind of don't like when they bring the belts to AEW. To me, it always feels like like you're taking that promotion's title. Like like seeing FTR with the IWGP belts. I was like, wait, I did not realize that they had them / still had them, or the AAA ones. I was like, I think all that happened at All Out, but like, why do you still have these belts? Because maybe it's just me. I don't watch AAA and I don't watch IWGP, so maybe they are making good appearances over there. But when I just see them so much on AEW, I'm like, WWE could not get away with that. They could not go to other people's promotions and bring their belts back.
Well, I mean, it's very well. Okay, I'll just say one thing. The only example I could think of where they've done that, maybe ever, if not but definitely in recent times, was Mickie James showing up at the Royal Rumble with her Impact Wrestling Women's Championship with the title card saying Impact Wrestling Women's Champion. So that was really specific. But beyond that, I mean, the thing I don't like about the championships crossing over is it's very inside baseball. Like, people don't know the history of the championships or know the promotions that well. And so it's nice to give them that exposure, but you're like, okay, well, like Mickie James showed up at the Royal Rumble, but I don't even know who the last women's champion was, or like, I don't know who she's feuding, or I don't know like the context of it. So why does it matter that she has the championship, or he has the championship, whoever shows up has the championship, if you don't even know how they won it? They're just carrying gold at that point without the story.
I know Ryan wants to jump in, but I just got to say, that's a little different to me because Mickie James isn't a part of the WWE roster. You know what I'm saying? Like, so her coming from TNA, making an appearance on a WWE TV show pops me more than me knowing that Lacey Evans is on the WWE roster. She went over to TNA. Sorry, I know it's Impact, got their belt, and then came back to WWE. Like, that pisses me off more than like, you know, showing spotlight to like, oh, if the like when not Zack Sabre Jr. Osprey came over to AEW. Like, I don't like him, but I appreciate him coming over with his title and showing what he can do and going back, as opposed to, I'm over here, I'm going to come steal your title and bring it back over here. So, Ryan, what do you think about all this?
I mean, I can't be trusted because I'm an internet wrestling smark. So like,
right.
I don't need to see the context. I see like Will Ospreay or the Great Muta or something come over, and I get excited because I know their history and I know their context. But I know, like, if you're not following the 20 promotions across the globe that you need to track all these championships, it could be confusing when someone just comes in out of the blue that you've never seen before and you're expected to be invested. But I do think it can be used well depending on how the storytelling goes. I think I like all the belts that FDR holds right now because for me, the message they're getting across is you don't need to know who they won them from in AAA or New Japan. You just know that they've got all the gold, they're world conquering badasses, and that's what the belts get across for me. And I like that. But as always, it depends how you use it. It depends how you write it.
top guys. I love a self-aware wrestling fan. Love
Seriously.
it.
Don't listen to anything I say. That's what I'm trying to get across here.
No, I do get that. I do get, and I think maybe that's my privilege because I already know FTR are badasses. I already know like they're one of the world's greatest tag teams. So flexing the gold does nothing for me because I know it. But I definitely can understand that. Any final thoughts on the many championship belts across so many promotions? Ari, final thoughts?
I think I'm gonna start a new title. I didn't think that far along as to what we're gonna call it, so you're gonna have to tune in next time. We'll have a grand reveal because that's how AEW works. We'll have a cloth and we'll have a grand reveal, and then we'll all fight for it. Us four, we're all here right now.
Okay.
Whoa!
Let's go.
That's how you get people to tune in next time. Matt, any final words?
Yeah, on the championships, I'm just honestly, I'm glad that Ari mentioned the championship that we'd be fighting for, because I'm thinking, who would I want to fight for the championship? Would it be War? Do they call him War Daddy? Does anyone call Wardlow War Daddy?
It's just low.
Okay, well, I don't know. It might be War. I mean, Jade Cargill would definitely pull a Rhea Ripley on me and just throw me around like I'm Dominic Mysterio. So maybe that would be a little bit interesting / fun / maybe that's how I get into the Baddie section. I'm just like thinking, what's Trios Championship? We could cut Ryan out, me, Mari, Ari. We've talked about this before, so I'm just saying we have some possibilities, but I need a championship to chase. That's how I feel. Ryan, any final thoughts from you on the championships?
I just think if you've got to introduce a new championship, just make sure the belt looks better than the 24/7 title, and I'll be happy with it.
I mean, low bar, but I agree.
Leave Dana Brooke alone. Leave Dana alone.
She didn't design the belt.
It looks like she designed it.
If you want to hear more, you can listen to the Wrestling RHAPup podcast by going to robhasawebsite.com/wrestling feed. Thank you so much to our guests. Ryan, can you tell the people where they can find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Sir Ricky Clantoplin. You can get a lot of great content from Grand Slam. No pictures or video of Matt Scott scissoring me, unfortunately. I tried my best, but there's lots of other good stuff there. And, I'll plug on behalf of the other two here, Survivor Philadelphia finale. On YouTube, you could see Ari and Matt go head-to-head, psychological, emotional warfare.
Spoilers.
I enjoyed
it. Ari, where can the people find you?
As Ryan alluded to, Matt and I, we're part of the Heart Foundation, so Survivor Philly on YouTube. You're going to check that out. And just on Instagram, REL De Jesus. And I'm on Twitter at Ari Ferarri. So if you want to follow along and want to yell at me, catch me then.
Do it.
Matt, what do you have going on?
Thanks for asking, Mari. Look, I've mostly been busy voting for Taylor on Big Brother 24 for America's Favorite Player.
Yes.
So you could do that until 9 a.m. Pacific time on September 25th. The finale's coming up on Big Brother. But I was just on the recap of the eviction episode this past Thursday, which was a lot of fun. So you could check that out if you are catching up on Big Brother and want to listen to some of the podcasts. Over on the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube and on Rob Has a Podcast in general on the main feed. And outside of the main feed, of course, I'm here on the Wrestling RHAPup all the time with Mari. I'm not going to plug your Twitter right now. I'm going to leave that for you. I was about to plug your Twitter.
Thank you.
But you could also find me over on Pod Friends, where I have the season finale this Sunday with the one and only Steven Fishback. Ring the bell, ding! And you could subscribe and listen to that, robhasawebsite.com/podfriends feed, and also watch it on the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube. Rob Has a Podcast, or robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. So lots of things there. Survive Philadelphia was a thing, I maybe I won, maybe I didn't win. Check that out. It's super fun. And our dear friend Chappelle watched the season too. So it means it's good enough for everybody. I think that's what that means, right?
Sure.
I respect him.
Yeah.
No question. Mari, wait, where could the people find you? I know you were going to end the episode, but like they want to know where they could find you.
Yes, of course. You can find me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much. That's 2 like the number 2. Every week, me and Sarah Carradine bring you True Crime Tuesdays to RHAP, where we review a true crime documentary, docuseries, true crime property. This week, we just dropped Indian Predator with me, Sarah, and Sasha Joseph. We talked about it's a Netflix docuseries that featured the Butcher of Delhi. So very, very fun. Go check that out. You can subscribe by going to robhasawebsite.com/crime feed to subscribe to Crime Scene. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Crime Scene RHAP. That's Crime Scene as in crime SEEN RHAP on Twitter. Every week here with the wonderful Matt Scott on the Wrestling RHAPup. And then Atlanta's back. Me and LaTanya just got together yesterday. Sans Chappelle was out. We talked about episode 3 of Atlanta. So you can go to Post Show Recaps. That's on Post Show Recaps. So you go to postshowrecaps.com/AtlantaPod, where we catch up with Ern and the gang. It is so fun, and so glad we have a few more episodes to go before the end. Unfortunately, it's the final season.
No.
I know. I also had the pleasure to sit on the small council of the House of the Dragon Book Club podcast, where me, Taryn Armstrong, and Rich talked about episode 5 of House of the Dragons, We Light the Way. It was so fun. If you are spoiler averse, we do the first, it was like an hour. We talked about the show through a book reader's lens with no spoilers, and then we go back after a break and we go full on book spoilers. So if you're into Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, please go listen to me there. You can subscribe by going to the postshowrecaps.com House of the Dragon feed there. And that is it for me. So for me, Matt Scott, Ryan Collins, Ari Ferarri, we are wishing you bye, but also saying wrestling is for everybody, but not all wrestling is for everyone. Scissor me, daddy.
Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling RHAPup's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris, and we coming every week and it's feeling like a party. Moolah Ric Flair, showing out like Bianca Belair, Best podcast, flush it in the air, Roman Reigns and we win it, don't care, No cap. Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling RHAPup's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris, and we coming every week and it's feeling like a party.